Hey everybody, T.O. from Art Geek Teaching. Today we're going to make backgrounds with Saltwash. Coming up. Okay, so what I've got here, I just have two panels, kind of junk panels that are set aside to practice with, experiment with. I've got my Saltwash, and this is not homemade. This is the purchased one, and I'm going to use some chalk paint. I'm using folk art or home decor. This is called patina. And then I've got a little brush for stippling, and I'm going to measure this out. So what I really want, I think my directions tell me it's about 3/4 to 1. So in other words, 1 part of paint with chalk paint. It's different for every kind of paint. With chalk paint it is 1 unit to 3/4 of a unit of salt wash. And so I'm going to go ahead and squirt out some paint. I think I can do each one of these with roughly a tablespoon, and so that's what I'm going to do as soon as I get my paint open here. Okay. Actually, I'm pretty sure I can do both of these with what's going to be in this. All right, so I have roughly 15 milliliters of paint, and we are going to put in at least 10 milliliters, maybe more. I got to keep my paint away from this. I don't want to get that in my salt. 1. These are heaping. I'm going to call that good. I may have to add just a little bit. And what we're looking for here in terms of consistency is like frosting. In fact, I think it even says, yeah, there it is. Desired paint consistency should be like thick cake icing. So it's actually pretty thick. All right, I'm going to stir this up. Oh, don't want to make a mess like that. Probably going to need just a little more paint, but we'll see how far this goes. You can see how thick and juicy that is. Yeah, it's definitely going to take more. But we got it mixed up. I'm going to just knock that off. Okay. And the way that I'm going to put this on is kind of just in a stippling motion, because we want it nice and thick. We want those peaks up. I don't know if I want to mix another batch or not. We'll just maybe do one of these. Let's see what happens. And you get to control how thick it is and how tall the peaks are that you're putting on here. And that is the whole goal here. We're trying to get some texture, right? This is a great way to make a background with some really cool texture and some really cool paint color pattern. All right. Let's see if we can get this out like this. What we're going to do after we get this all stippled out on here, we're going to wait till it starts to dry. And once it starts to dry just a little bit, we're going to go back in and kind of knock the edges down. But we're going to wait. Trying to get as much of this out as I can. Don't have quite as much paint on this one, but it'll be fine. See if we can get any more out of this. See how stiff that is. Okay, you can kind of see, hopefully, what the texture looks like. And this is quite a bit thicker. All right, so I'm going to go wash this stuff up as that is drying. Okay, so this is still tacky, and this really isn't on there very thick. So rather than use a brush, I'm just going to use very lightly a card, and I'm just going to kind of knock this texture down real light. I'm not pushing down, I'm just letting the weight of the card kind of do it, and I just want this to be a little bit more even. And I'm not going to do the other one because it's even lighter. This does tend to work better when you put it on thicker. So I don't know if you can see in the camera, that's not really that thick. All right, this one we're just going to leave. I'm going to let those dry, and then I'll come back and go to the next step. Okay, the next step is we're just going to go put a light coat on these. Our first coat, where we used our salt wash, is totally dry. And on this one, we're just going to put a coat down. And we're going to go ahead and let it dry completely, and then we'll come back and do the last step. Couldn't find my bigger brush. It's all right. Okay, I stayed with chalk paint. My base coat is chalk paint, so my top coat's going to be chalk paint also. You don't really want to mix those. If you start, whatever you start with, whether it's chalk paint or acrylic or latex or milk paint, you want to stick with that. All right, so there's our first dude. Now we'll let that dry completely, and then we'll just take it out to the wood shop, the dirty, dirty wood shop, and we'll sand it. And you'll see these are both actually too light. I think, personally, I think it works a lot better the heavier I lay it on there. And this one is really light, and this one is lighter than I think I would normally do it. So it'll still work. It just won't work as good as what it would otherwise. And of course, you can do many different variations on this. This is just the most simple, most basic. One base coat, one top coat, done. Got some texture, and we'll have some cool looking different paint patterns in there as well. All right, that's it. Let this guy dry, and we'll go sand it. Okay, I know my lighting is poop in here, but it's dark outside where I would normally sand, and I do not want to sand in the studio, so I'm just going to sand it in here, and we'll have to deal with the crummy lighting. Okay, I'm going to put on, I'll just put on an 80 grit, and then we'll take it away. Okay, actually, rather than using an 80, this is actually a 180. I'm just going to go ahead and use that rather than using a little bit harsher one. All right, here we go. Okay, so you can see, now this is flat, it's smooth, but it left behind, I don't know if you can see that, it left behind this really cool pattern and implied texture. It's not a real texture anymore because it is smooth, but it's a really neat way that you can get some pretty cool effects on a background. And so the other thing is, if I wanted to clean this up even more, you can see that it must have been just a little bit wet yet. And I used two different kinds of paint, two different colors of paint that had good contrast. It works a lot better if you have a light and a dark like that. But anyway, there you have it. A really fast, quick and easy way to use Saltwash for a background. Have a good night.